Thank you for joining today. So we continue reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. Chapter 24, entitled Renunciation of Pradama Muni. Text number 42. Let's start with prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narayana Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
Bhagavati
भगवती
Bhaktir
रुद्रमश्लोके
Bhavati Naishtiki
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी
Srimadam Sagatha Krishna Punyasham Kirtanam
पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनः
Vinyanto Savagani
हृदन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि
Uttamani Sukhitsatha
विनोति सहृत्सताम्
So Sanskrit translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Haichavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shilpapada Ki Jai. Pratham
व्रतम्
Sa Asthito
सहास्तितः
Maunam
मौनम्
Pratham Sa Asthito Maunam
व्रतं शास्त्रितो मौनम्
Atmaika Sharano Muni
आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः
Niksango Vyachara Kshanim
निस्सङ्गो व्यचरक्षोणी
Anakir Aniketana
अनिकेतनः
Pratham Sa Asthito Maunam
व्रतं शास्त्रितो मौनम्
Atmaika Sharano Muni
आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः
Niksango Vyachara Kshanim
निस्सङ्गो व्यचरक्षोणी
Anakir Aniketana
अनिकेतनः
व्रतं सा स्थितो मौनं
व्रतं सा अस्थितो मौनम्
आत्मैका शरणो मुनि
आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः
निसङ्गो व्यचराक्षोणी
निस्सङ्गो व्यचरक्षोणी
अनग्निरनिकेतनः
अनग्निरनिकेतनः
व्रतं सा स्थितो मौनम्
व्रतं सा स्थितो मौनम्
आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः
आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः
निस्सङ्गो व्यचरक्षोणी
निःसङ्गो व्यचरत् शोणीम्
अनिकेतनः
अनग्निरनिकेतनः व्रतं सा स्थितो मौनम्
व्रतं सा स्थितो मौनम्
आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः
आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः
निःसङ्गो व्यचरत् शोणीम्
निस्सङ्गो व्यचरक्षोणी
अनग्निरनिकेतनः
अनिकेतनः
व्रतं सा स्थितो मौनम् आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः निसङ्गो व्यचरत् शोणीम् अनग्निरनिकेतनः व्रतं सा स्थितो मौनम् आत्मैका शरणो मुनिः निःसङ्गो व्यचरत् शोणीम् अनग्निरनिकेतनः
Translation by Srila. The sage Kardama accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of God and take shelter of Him exclusively. Without association, he traveled over the surface of the globe as sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with the fire or shelter. Prepared by Srila. Here the words
Prabhu, can you speak into the mic?
Here the words Anagni or Aniketana are very significant. A sannyasi should be completely detached from the fire and any residential quarters. A grihastha has a relationship with the fire, either for offering sacrifices or for cooking, but a sannyasi is free from these two responsibilities. He doesn't have to cook or offer fire for sacrifice because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he has already accomplished all ritualistic performances of religion. Aniketana means without lodging. He should not have this his own house, but should depend completely on the Supreme Lord, who, for his food and lodging, he should travel. Mauna means silence. Unless one becomes silent, he cannot think completely about the pastimes and activities of the Lord. It is not that because one is a fool and cannot speak nicely, he therefore takes the vow of Mauna. Rather, one becomes silent so that people will not disturb him. It is said by Chanakya Pandit that a rascal appears very intelligent as long as he does not speak. But speaking is a test. This so-called silence of a silent person with Swami indicates that he has nothing to say. He simply wants to beg. But the silence adopted by Kardama Muni was not like that. He became silent for relief from nonsensical talk. One is called a Muni when he remains grave and does not talk nonsense. Maharaja Ambarish set a very good example. Whenever he spoke about the pastimes of the Lord. Mauna necessities refrain from nonsensical talking and engage in the talking facility in the pastimes of the Lord. In that way one can chant and hear about the Lord in order to perfect his life. Rather means that one should take a vow as explained in Bhagavad Gita. Amanitvam adambitvam. Without hankering for personal respect and without being proud of one's material position. Ahimsa means not being violent. There are 18 processes for attaining knowledge and perfection. And by his vow, Kardama Muni adopted all principles of self-realization. Vandeham Shiguru Shridapadakam Shiguru Vaishnava Shivapam Sattvajatam Sahanalapunakamikam Tam Satrivam Satvaitam Savudam Parijanam Sikidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shirada Krishna Padam Sahanam Maritam Shivashakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapti Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Deshavana Sudave Pranamami Hari Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasya Pasitanam Patanikarnam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna 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 Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachayani Nirvishesha Shunyavani Pachita Deshatarine Yanda Krishna Vashna Prasutam Sanjurayati Kila Shaktidam Sadhanam Anyam Sharastam Sharam Shamanam Samari Pranam Bhagavate Purushaya Tukyam Duryam Pratindasya Skalpadam Purushiti Paisan Santa Sampalam Gurave Vajchandra Shriyatkadvaya Shri Krishna Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Girnavas, this is Shtanya Devame Bhagavan Samprasidatav. Tasham Sadam Yuktanam Bhajada Priti Provakamtam Budhyogam Tam Paitya. Krishna Shakti Vidanahitara Pratan Kalkavara Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtana. Anantastri Nandantara Neyashki Punakuna Shimad Rupam Padam Bhujam Drisyam. Hare Krishna. So this verse speaks about principles of sannyasa ashram. I don't know, I'm actually not a sannyasi, I'm not qualified to speak. So we have few sannyasis around, Maharaj is here at least. I don't know why Krishna chosen me to speak on that. Probably just to expose myself as unqualified person, showing up that I am kind of renunciant. Anyway, I would like to build up my class today on one of the main statements throughout the Vedic literature, which is can be found in Padma Purana, and this is called Mahavakya. It is a very important statement, one of the main. It is saying that Smartavyok Satatam Vishnur Vismartavyok Najatuchit Sarva Vidhi Nishedhasyor Etayor Eva Kinkara. All the rules and regulations, Vidhi Nishedhi, prohibitions, are meant for one thing. Actually two. There are two parts. One is positive, another one is negative. Positive is always remember Krishna, and negative is never forget. Right? So this is our ultimate objective. Always remember, never forget. And all the rules and regulations are meant to facilitate this main one. And like Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Rai, what is a great loss in life? And he said, to forget Krishna even for a moment is a great loss. And it is quite hard, right? To remember Krishna, even during our japa time, always remember Krishna. I don't know, for myself, it's hard to remember. And who can remember Krishna all the time? Probably those who paramahamsas or mahatmas. Mahatmanas tunam partham devim prakriti rashitam. Bhajante me, what is it called? Ananya manaso, bhutva, gyatva bhutadi avyayam, right? So Mahatmas, those who are under the jurisdiction of internal energy of Krishna, Daivi Prakriti, they're empowered, they can remember Krishna all the time. In fact, Krishna said, who is Mahatma? There are actually two types of living entities, Mahatma and Duratma. Duratma, those who are outside people, they even don't know that Krishna exists, or they don't know anything about Krishna, mostly. And Mahatma, those who always chant kirtan. Satatam kirtayantu mam yadantashtam drithavrata namasyantasya mam nitya nitya yukta upasate. They're always engaging in the glorification of Krishna, his qualities, pastimes, characteristics, names, and abode of Krishna and his eternal associates. So this Mahatma. And this is very hard, yeah, to always chant, to always remember Krishna. And at least we know how to do it. The best way how to do kirtan. Actually, best way to remember Krishna is a kirtan, right? Kirtan is the best way. And it is recommended for Kali Yuga. Kalauta Dhari Kirtanam. It is actually Yuga Dharma. Kali Kalara Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtana. In Kali Yuga, this is the main process. Kirtan is very easy. And when you're doing kirtan, so we're hearing about Krishna's pastimes, and then it brings us to the level of remembering, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, very easy. So, but in order to remember Krishna, always we have to perform kirtan all the time, right? Kirtanya Sadaharich. So this is very hard. But anyway, Lord Chaitanya gave to us recipe how to do this, right? He mentioned 4 conditions of that. So he said, Trinadapi sunishinach, tarorapi sahishnunach, amanina manadana, Kirtaniya Sadahari. So there are four conditions, four principles, how to remember Krishna always, right? Those who tolerant, those who humble more than the straw on the street, or he's more tolerant than the tree, and he gives respect to everyone and never demand any respect to oneself. He is considered to be, he can do kirtan all the time, Kirtaniya Sadahari, right? And this is our four real regulative principles. Not those who, principles of freedom, but these are four considered to be our real principles, right? How to be always conscious of Krishna and always perform kirtan. And like Bhaktivedanta, he said, these are four friends, these are our four friends, or he said, four friends of Hari Bhajan. Yes, humility, tolerance, respect, and never demand respect to oneself. So by doing this, we can perform kirtan all the time. This is our four regulative principles. And by the way, these are four qualities: humility, tolerance, respect, and never demand respect to oneself. So these qualities are, should we develop, should we endeavor to develop them, or they come in automatically? How do you think? And these qualities are bhakti or not? Are they useful, but they bhakti or they're not bhakti? Or we have to endeavor to develop them. We know that there is a main quality of vaishnava, Krishnayika Sharanam, right? So if we surrender to Krishna, all qualities are coming automatically in their own accord. Like it is saying in Bhagavatam, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatira kinchanam surayar, what is it called? Sarvayar sura guna tatra samasta suraha. Right, all the good qualities of the demigods will be manifested in the course of time if you perform in bhakti, like religiosity, renunciation, or knowledge. So should we endeavor to develop qualities, humility, tolerance, respect, and all other things? How do you think? There are different opinions, actually, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said in Jaiva Dharma that these qualities are actually swarup of bhakti in itself. This is form of bhakti. These are qualities. And to develop qualities, it is considered to be bhakti. It is already bhakti by developing these qualities. We're doing bhakti in itself. And of course, Jiva Goswami, he explained in his Sandarbhas, there are different levels or different kinds of bhakti. Different kinds of bhakti. Like Kapila Muni also, he explained there are few types of bhakti, like tamasika bhakti, rajasika bhakti, sattvika bhakti, right? And pure bhakti, kevala bhakti. Srila Prabhupada mentioned like 81 types of bhakti in modes of nature, all different kinds of bhakti. And Jiva Goswami, he mentioned three main. He said, one is called Aropa Siddha Bhakti, Sangha Siddha Bhakti, and Svarupa Siddha Bhakti. So Aropa Siddha Bhakti means whatever you offer to Krishna, it turns into Bhakti. It becomes Bhakti. Interesting, right? So Bhakti is universal. So for example, you go into the market and buying things, or you go into, I don't know, gym and pumping up your muscles, or you making money, or you posting some things on a public websites. Are this bhakti or not? Of course not, right? It's not the bhakti, but if you connect it to Krishna, it turns into bhakti. It becomes bhakti. Right? It's called Aropa Siddha Bhakti. If you put element of bhakti in that, so it turns into bhakti. It becomes bhakti, devotional service. So bhakti is very, unique and universal. If you agree, Maharaj. And another one is called Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Sangha Siddha means whatever facilitates bhakti, helps to develop bhakti. For example, we study in Shastra Svadhyaya, or we maybe developing qualities, like here mentioned, mauna, or non-violence, or vairagya, or even humility, tolerance, and respect. Are this bhakti or not? Maybe it's not, but it's a big discussion, big subject. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned their bhakti. These are qualities of bhakti, actually. Humility, tolerance. And Vrindavan Thakur, he mentioned in his Chaitanya Bhagavatam, prema mata dainya, prema trishna dainya mata, right? He said, thirst for prema is the mother of humility. So it means equivalent. So humility is like equivalent to your prema. Whatever humility you accumulated, so to that degree you develop your prema. Like, equivalence. But anyway, these qualities, to developing qualities, that's also, if you connect to Krishna, all those qualities, like wake up early in the morning, going to Mangalarati, maybe restrain yourself from the different kinds of food in the months of Purushottama, doing all different vratas and developing qualities. These are, it's called Sangha-siddha bhakti. Sangha-siddha means whatever facilitates your bhakti, it's a bhakti. And of course, there is Svarupa-siddha bhakti. Svarupa-siddha means bhakti in itself, form of bhakti, Svarupa. So original form of bhakti. And these are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So these are direct processes of bhakti. So bhakti shakti invested or injected into these processes. So you chanting, you remembering Krishna, you worshiping deities, and there are 5 main actually, Panchanga bhakti, 5 main. Bhagavad Shravanam, Satsanga, Harinam Sankirtan, Madhura Vas, Vrindavan Vas, living in holy place, and also what is called, deity worship, Murtir Shraddha Sevanam, with faith. So these 5 Panchanga Bhakti, the direct processes, and this is called Svarupa Bhakti, Svarupa Siddha Bhakti. So if you perform these qualities, you perform these processes, you perform in direct Bhakti. So this is Bhakti, this is nothing else. Bhakti Shakti in itself invested into these methods. And even neophyte, beginner, can experience ecstasy or bliss by performing these processes. So all other things, we can connect to Krishna in different ways, right? For example, we develop in qualities, like it is mentioned here, quality of sannyasa, ashram, renunciation, mauna vrata, or non-violence. So we're not sannyasis, right? I mean, Lord Chaitanya said, na ham vipra nachanara patir na pivaisho na shudra na ham varni na chagriha patir no anasthoidirva. Kintu pradhyani kila pramananda purna britaphir gopi barduch padakamalyor dasu 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 dasu. So our position is to be das, anudas. But to be das, it's quite elevated status, right? So, and in order to become a das of everyone, so we have to develop qualities. And those qualities which I mentioned here, like non-violence, mauna vrata, vairagya, living in a secluded place and with any lodging or food. So these are very helpful actually. And it is also can be bhakti and Sangha-siddha bhakti, like Jiva Goswami mentioned, right? So, for example, non-violence. Non-violence is very good quality. And in Dharma Shastra it is said that ahimsa paradharma. Ahimsa means topmost quality. but in itself it's not a bhakti. But Prabhupada mentioned that, so what we meant, what taken to mean as non-violence, probably we know that it's like destroying and killing of bodies, right? This is like violence. But actually, Prabhupada explained that put other into distress, it's called violence, right? And generally people living in forgetfulness, in ignorance, they're entrapped into the bodily conception of life and the perpetually suffering material pains. So unless person facilitates the on a level of spiritual knowledge, unless he is practicing violence, actually. So if you know about Krishna, we do not speak, we do not uplift the human society, we do not bring people back to the lotus feet of Krishna, we committing violence, actually, right? So, therefore, one should buy his best to distribute real knowledge to the people so that they may become enlightened and have this material enlightenment, and this is non-violence. So non-violence is a very higher principle, and this could be bhakti as well. So this is preaching of Krishna consciousness. Mauna, so another quality is a mauna, right? So to keep mauna or silence in human society, it's kind of inadequate kind of type of behavior. I remember once I came to Switzerland in the Zurich temple, and I saw some person who stayed at the background, and he was silent on the kirtan. I came to Mangalarati, and he was silent. And I asked, what happened? What's wrong with that guy? Somebody said, he keeps mauna. He keeps mauna. And he stays on the kirtan, he was silent. I was thinking, what is the use of that mauna, to be silent on a kirtan? Completely ridiculous, right? So all these qualities could be like a blockage on the path of bhakti. So if you're not using them properly in connection to Krishna. So, like over-accumulate things, like over-accumulate even knowledge, or write books on, or sometimes Rupa Goswami said, even initiate too much disciples against the principle of bhakti. So another way, so if we don't use these qualities in the service to Krishna, they become like they're blocking our pathway to Krishna. If we use them properly, so they become bhakti, actually. This is universality or beauty of devotional service. So Mauna, mundane talks, like Rupa Goswami mentioned in Nectar of Instruction, he said, Atihara prayasascha prajalponia magraha. Prajalpa is that this thing which destroys our devotional service. Shaptir bhaktir vinashyati, it destroys our bhakti. So there's 6 things which are not favorable. The 2 steps on devotional path, on path of Sharanagati, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam. So 6 things which are favorable and 6 things which are not favorable. So prajalpa, mundane talks, very, very dangerous thing which can destroy our bhakti. And just came to my mind Lord Chaitanya when he instructed Radhanath Das Goswami. He said to him, do not engage in mundane talks, right? Gramya Katha. What he said to him, never eat delicious food and wear fancy clothes, always chant Hare Krishna, and always remember in mind Radha and Krishna. So he gave to him instruction like that. So no mundane talks, Gramya Katha, which is Prajalpa. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he mentioned 8 types of Prajalpa in his Bhakti Loka. He said, useless talk, not relevant to Krishna consciousness, or arguments over insignificant matters, or gossips, or hearsay, or different rumors, debates, philosophical debates, or sometimes called ego battle, right? Faults finding, what else? Creating falsehood, fake news in social networks, blaspheme the devotees, of course, is the worst one, and worldly talks, mundane talks. So all these kind of types of prajalpa, which is not favorable for our Krishna consciousness. Prajalpunya magraha. So Rupa Goswami mentioned these things which are not favorable, pratikulyasya. And so, of course, we have to keep our mauna in connection in regard of mundane things, mundane talks, politics, and social networks. But we have to be very talkative when it comes to the preaching or glorification of Krishna, Krishna Kirtan, Krishna Katha, and so on and so forth, right? And then here it is mentioned that one of the qualities of sannyasa ashram is to, what he said? Accept whatever comes in its own accord, like not over endeavor for lodging or eating or all these things. And like, so we should not over endeavor. It's also prayasa, atyahara prayasascha, which is not favorable, pratikula. Like it is mentioned in the pastimes of Prahlada Maharaj when he was traveling, and he came to some place where the person, he was laid down on a road, and he was laid down like a python. He accepted a vow of python, which is called Ajagara Vriti. So he never endeavored to find the food and things. He never went to, I don't know, shopping mall to buy something. He was laid down on the road, and he was quite fat. And Prahlad Maharaj, he was like amazed by seeing this person who never endeavored for food, but he was a fat person. And my own experience, as soon as I started to fast, everyone comes to me and offer to me food. Asked, please take this, or you want to eat, and just offering like some kind of things. So it's always like that. So as soon as you start to control your senses and perform this vrata, immediately Krishna always takes care. But anyway, so sannyasi should not worry about food and lodging, because Krishna takes care of. Like also one of the stories, and when in the life of Haridas Thakur, when he chanting Hare Krishna, and some prostitute came to entice him, and when he converted her, and she asked some instructions, he said, okay, you stay in this bhajan kutir and just chant Hare Krishna all the time. And she started to do it, and people started to bring some food to her, many food stuffs. And she never endeavored for anything, and she was completely like it was like so much food was bringing to her. So anyway, so these are qualities of sannyasa ashram And these qualities are considered to be favorable to our Krishna consciousness. And that's what recommended in our path of gradual surrender to Krishna, Anukulyasa Sankalpa Pratikulyasa Varjanam. So the two first steps on the path of surrender. So we have to develop qualities in order to become Krishna consciousness. Therefore, all different qualities like humility and tolerance and silence and not engage in mundane talks and respect to others and non-violence, they are considered to be very nice qualities. And if you connected them to Krishna, they become bhakti, they become devotional service. So by doing these things, we can come to the level of to become dasa, and perform kirtan all the time. Kirtaniya sada harih. So anyway, devotees are already sannyasis, like Krishna mentioned in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in the first verse. He said, whoever, what he said, whoever perform his duties without attachment, he's considered to be sannyasi, and he's considered to be real yogi, not those who perform no duties and light no fire. Yeah? Ashritach na karoti ya na karyasi. What's this verse? Na karyati karoti yam sasanyasi sayogicha na niragnirna chakriyaha. Something like that. Yeah. So the first verse of 6th canto. So anyway, so devotees are real sannyasis because they perform their duties without attachment, and they doing this for the sake of to please Krishna. Therefore, these are qualities which facilitate our smaranam, our remembrance of Krishna. Smarata vyok satatam vishnur vismarata vyok najaduchit. Sarva vidhi nishethasyur eta yorva kinkaragah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna. So I'm stop here. Thank you for tolerating me today. So any comments or questions or any realizations about that?
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class.
Thank you, Vishnu Prabhu.
I had one question regarding, I believe it was Jiva Goswami's 3 types of bhakti.
Yeah.
So the first one is Aropa Siddhi Bhakti, and then the second one is Sangha Siddhi Bhakti.
Yes.
The last one is Swarupa Siddhi Bhakti.
Swarupa Siddhi Bhakti.
So in terms of the potency to purify ourselves or the potency to please Krishna, are any of the 3 more powerful or like less or superior, inferior to the other 2 or others?
Say again the last part of your question. What?
Yeah, it's like, are any of the 3
Yeah.
like better or worse than the others to practice?
Worse than the others.
Yeah, like is like this.
For example, which other?
Like is Swarupa Siddhi Bhakti, like is that better than?
Yeah.
So that's better, and then the other ones are considered inferior.
Yeah, this is like hierarchy. So as I mentioned, Swarupa Siddha Bhakti, this is Bhakti in itself. So because Bhakti Shakti invested in these processes, 5 methods of Bhakti or 9 or 64, these are direct processes of Bhakti. So Bhakti Shakti is there. This is like Bhakti in itself. But then Sangha Siddha Bhakti is not real Bhakti, but which facilitates our Bhakti, developing qualities, doing different vratas, or following our prescribed duties of our ashram, brahmachari, grihasthas, sannyasis, and so on and so forth. And technically it's called Jnana Mishra Bhakti. You know, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, where there is element of Bhakti and some portion of Jnana. It's not real pure Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti, which is the first one. And Aropa Siddha Bhakti means whatever you offer to Krishna. Krishna proposed to Arjuna, Yad Karoshi Yajnasnasi, Yad Juhosi Dadasi Yad Karoshi, what is it called? Yad Tapasya Shikauntayam, Tad Krushva Mat Arpana. Mat Arpana means offer, whatever you eat, whatever you do, whatever vrata you perform, you have to offer to me. Arpanam, do Arpanam. So whatever we're doing in our life, we have to offer to Krishna. And as much as possible, at the beginning, at the end, and in the middle, we have to offer it all the time. Otherwise, we're gonna fall into the, like mundane level. So that's called aropasita. Technically, it's called karma mishra bhakti. So we're performing karma, but there is element of bhakti, which is considered to be more like if our motivation is bhakti, please Krishna, that means there is a major portion of bhakti. And whatever you do externally, it's just like, some mixture, different mixtures.
Right, so the three types are in
Yeah, it's like karma
higher.
mishra, jnana mishra, and bhakti in itself, kevala bhakti.
Kevala bhakti, so it's the same,
Yeah.
same level.
So, but our process is, Rupa Goswami mentioned, Ana Abhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhyanam Vritam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Rudam. So our process is pure Kevala Uttama Bhakti. So we don't do any, like Jnana or Karma or any other mixtures. So we have to do pure devotional service. And what we're doing actually, this is sadhana of pure devotional service. Maybe it's not pure at all, but our motivation should be pure. So we have to aim on that higher goal, ultimate objective, which we want to please Krishna. Anukulyena, this is element, anukulyena, right? So this is pure bhakti. This is sadhana. We're still endeavoring. We're not on a perfect platform. That's called sadhana siddha, right?
Right, yes. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the answer. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, would you like to make comments?